picture, you can see I've really transferred this onto the paper below using the blue transfer paper that we've been using before. So we take that one out, put it away, and what I normally do is, you can see I've only secured this at two places, so that if I'm busy transferring I can always come back and compare to see whether I've left anything off from here, so that in case I have left something off and this comes loose, it's virtually impossible to get this realigned exactly with the one below. So don't forget, secure this properly, put your paper, the transfer paper underneath, and you can then come back and then backwards and forwards to see whether you've left everything off. At the moment it's as normal, very light blue lines. They don't show up in the after I've done the pen and ink. Not that easy, and it can be removed later if necessary. Okay, so here you can actually see where I've transferred. I've used a ballpoint pen, and I can see where, and by doing that I can actually see where I've also not copied to transfer. So there's another way of doing it, is make sure that you've got a print that you throw away, and then you can mark it off so you can see exactly where you've transferred. Right, and here what I've done is, you can see I've just added another little leaf on side here, because we're not going to be doing these leaves. I'm keeping this part as a piece on its own. I've got these two little leaves, and I've just added this little one on here just for balance. You've got this little stem that goes out, and then this little one sort of hidden behind. I've virtually taken that one out and moved it out towards the side. This is not going to be there. I just want this little piece across here. That we're not going to do, and that we're not going to do. So let's take that off and put that. Let's take that off so it don't get stuck up in a little bit later on, or getting hooked. We'll put that aside, and I'm going to be using, instead of the other pens, I'm going to be using the felt tip. I'm going to be using these ones here, which is going to be the dip pens. And here I've got the thing. I've already poured some ink in there with my Indian ink bottle, and this is the holder that just stops it from falling over and messing up ink all over the place. Then what I've got here, let's put that aside. I have a tonal chart. So let's have a look at something here. The tonal chart is quite interesting, because what happens is, now with the tonal chart, you can then on your drawing make sure that you're getting the same tonal ranges that we're going to be using in the other. So this is a big one. It actually comes from the pencil course that we offer, pencil tonal chart, which has your pencil ranges, but I'm using these ones across here. Ours is just black, so we're going to be just with our cross hatching and markings to make sure that we bring our tonal ranges up to the same tonal ranges we've got here. But I've got the other half that I've cut away, and these are the ones I use. You've got the 2H, and I normally use between that in here, between the 2H and the 4B as far as this is concerned. Then when I went darker, I can go to the 6B and the 9B. But in this one here, I use this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the M that I've got here is the middle tone. So that is your middle tone, and you can use this for virtually any artwork that you're doing, whether it's pastels or watercolors, oils, or gouache, or whatever you're going to be using. these are the ones, important ones, because your tonal range is the one that's more important than actually your color. And so here we're going to see and have a look. And let's have a look and see what our normal tonal range is going to be. So if we take that one, I'm looking at this, take a pointer here so we can see. If I look at that one as opposed to that one, you can see this one is too light compared to that color. Let's take this one, that's getting closer between that one, so let's take this one and that one. If you have a look now, this tonal range is almost the same. Let's take that one. Now you can see this one is a bit darker than that one. So the tonal range that we're going to be using in this side here is for our purpose the same as if you were using an HB pencil into there. And then of course you come higher up here, you can see now you can't use the HB across here because now that one is much lighter than this one. And we took this, that is coming closer, but now that tonal range, the H, is more for this one here. As we go up, you can see that that one here falls in with a 2H. If you take across there, this is too dark. Well, it comes almost. So let's say I think this one here there's your tonal range for that one. So we'll come back to that as we're doing busy with this one. As we go down here, and we go and we have a look at the stems down at this end. If we do that, you can see this one is a little bit. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but this one here is a little bit too dark to come that one. But this one here, between the B and the 2B, comes to this here. But whether we use that one, it's in this area here, it doesn't really matter. We want some shade under that, and then we come out, we get some more of the sunlight coming into this area. Okay, so let's put that aside, and then before we start, I want to show you something else. If you have a look, you see this area here is a bit dark, so it's not always easy to see what's actually inside that particular area. With the cameras, usually for color, is usually only three stops. Apart from that, it hasn't got a wide range. It's like a black and white photograph, the old black and white film you used to have. So what actually happens is, if you want to see in this side here, this is being light, the camera's taken this one, it's focused for this, but it's not exposure, taken the exposure in for the darker areas. If you come in for the darker areas, what actually you get the detail of this one, that becomes overexposed or underexposed depending what you're using, and then this, you hardly any detail. So if I want to see this detail here, that means I have to change my exposure. Now I've done this in my editing program, and I've come up and I've done this. Now we can see, now you can see much better the detail that is in this area. So, and then of course another thing is, have a look, is by doing that, and I've just changed I've not changed any color. All I've done is just change the brightness, and see what's happened here. The underlying color for your orange is actually yellow. So if you were doing a painting, you put your yellow down first, and then come in and build your orange over the top of that one. And in printing, first thing they do, your first one is they print the yellow first, and then they will do the red, and then they'll do the blue, and then they'll do the black in the printing process. So here you can see the underlying, and I'm going to be using this one quite a bit here because here it can be almost the same color all the way through. So I'm going to be lightening some of these areas and reshading it slightly so that we can get the thing. So here you can see the difference where it gets darker in the shadow areas and goes a bit lighter, and we'll be using that as a basis. Okay, well, obviously we won't be doing it as light as this one, but I'm using this as an example when it's darker in here and gets lighter as it comes up. And of course underneath here there's a bit of a shadow with this overlap, this lip that comes over, and we're going to be darkening it up. See that in here. Okay, so let's take that off and begin our drawing. So I'm going to be using this very mapping pen first, and I'm going to be doing some I made these ones a little bit darker than I normally would, just so that the camera can pick it up, because normally what I would do, for especially with the light edges of these ones here, I would actually make it very light that I personally can just see it, but camera wise it would be hard to see. So I've actually emphasized these lines more than what I would normally do if I was doing this without any camera work at all. So let's take that up. What I do is I've got a slip of a little piece of paper. Once I've got it in, just dip it, take the excess ink off, and then just make sure that it's working, and then come along. And now I'm going to very lightly, because this is the light, just sort of half giving an indication, very light. And I'm putting some little waviness inside, because the edges of the roses and petals are not always as if it's been cut with a pair of scissors. So I'm just putting a very light outlines first. They can always be beefed up later, just so that I've got my hit and miss, as it were, at this stage. As far as the lines go, just the indication, very light. Okay, so let's go this one here. The outside first. Let's do some of these ones here. These are all the different little petals, and these got this one little lip that sort of comes out down there. That's an overhang. We've got another little overhang that comes across this side, and one that goes in here. Let's bring this closer here so you can actually see what's happening. I'm going to do that and bring that closer, so that you can virtually follow me what I'm doing. Dip some more in. Just give it a bit of a go. And there's this other little piece that goes in here. We got this other leaf that comes out here. While we're here, we might as well do this other leaf. And these roses usually have these little leaves that have got little spikes on them. We might as well just put that on. And there's this bit of the center vein that goes up. Let's indicate that one. And we have these other petals here that are below the other. You notice that the blue sort of, even with the thin lines, tends to disappear already behind these the ink it's putting in here at the moment. Let's see, it goes across here, and then we have a little lip. It's turned up at that point. Right, let's go into the center. Check that again, put some more ink on. These are all the little upturned lips. And they're the ones that define the edges of the leaves, the petals at least, not the leaves. Across here, into here. Go carefully with these ones, because these here are actually your foundation work to the pen and ink work itself, so you need to be quite careful and get them reasonably accurate. Unless you're working on parchment paper, you find that cartridge paper is not so easy to make any changes, to scratch them out, as it were. Parchment paper, it's fine. We're doing illuminated addresses. That's lovely. You can always scratch out your mistakes and redo them, as it were. Here we've got a little, going to it. Yes, this one coming across there, down here. You've got these little one coming down here. Stem. All these little, there's a special name for these ones, I've forgotten what they are, all these little leaves that come out at the bottom of the rose. It's almost like a cover leaves for the buds. There. For that side, and now we have the other little leaf across here. There's actually a stem going on, but I'm not going to put that in as a stem as it on its own. I'm just going to make it like one of these little leaves. Got this other little small little leaves that go out here. finished. Right, there we've done the the main little set out. We've got a few of these little veins that come out. Can't see them too much on that one, so right, so now we can start some of our shading. Let's zoom into there. Right. Let's take this one. And also do that. Bring that a bit to the side. And we can have a look and see. Right. What we need to see is the actual rounding of the actual petals themselves. So we have to, our lines, basic lines will have to follow that rounding. So take this leaf, let's look at this one first. You can see that this rounding comes in from, let's just get that started. The ink dries a bit. There we go. Okay. So these ones here, this comes in from underneath and gives you that curl. Let's give the basic ones first. These ones here have got a curl, comes over this ridge, gives you the curl that comes down like that. This one will also very, very light. Don't make it too strong. These ones will go out this way. These, let's get that. If your pen doesn't want to start, what you do is you just come along with the tissue, clean that out. Any solids that have hardened in the meantime, make sure the tip is clean, dip some more ink in, and there we go, getting started again. So right, so here we've got very, very light. This is why I'm using this particular pen, because it gives me the very, very light lines. These have got these down here, it's coming this side, and these other ones are coming around this way. These are also going up that way. These ones are actually curling over this way to give you that curl. These ones also curling over this way. These ones are curling this way. In the center, it's down from here, but that shape. So This is another leaf, no, I keep on calling it a leaf, another petal that is sticking out sideways. I think I'm going to add, just to add a little piece across here. I know it's not in the, I didn't put enough ink on. Just to give it that bit of a body across there. This is a hollow inside, and we need to have a look to see which side the light is coming from, and it's coming from, it's hard to see, but let's make it coming from that way. So we come from the top left hand corner down, and this is a hollow inside here. So here you've got that other leaf, so let's add a bit of, start adding some shadow in here. Need some shadow, because this is light, and this is other petal is also coming out, so some of the petal marks are going to be out that way as well. Inside here I'm going to be using some of the cross hatching, very tiny. And less and less and less and less. And that gives you, starts giving you some depths inside, and of course up top here as well too, you're going to have some of these lines that are going to a bit hot today. The ink is drying very quickly. Get that going. So I'm going to put some very light lines. Careful of putting too much. Once they're on, not easy to get off. I'm giving that a bit of a curl. Less on the outside because you have that little highlight on the edge across here, so we don't want to show that highlight. We want to show the highlight, so it's just all these little lines next to each other, sort of interlace them. As you come in, you're going to interlace them more and more. And these are extremely fine lines that I'm using here at the moment. And it's a bit lighter across here. Make this a little bit darker in here. That one comes out. There we got the one little petal. And the side is going to be quite dark in here, because you've got that little bit of an overlap. And that'll be dark inside here. So let's right in there, just a little bit inside that. Let's just darken this one up a bit, just in here. That one shadow across here. Very light, small. And then inside here you've got that little hollow, and it's going to be darker in here. And a little bit of shading in this side. And this one will also have some Cool. In there, so we're slowly showing that one up. Now let's, this leaf petal has also got a bit of a curl into it, and it's darker in the side, so let's bring this one up a bit. Some places here you can actually put a very light cross hatching in the shadow areas. Very light. But not too much, just inside here. Okay. So let's go into this side, like that. We got each of these ones here is darker inside, so we need to darken these areas. Get dark inside. The top of each one is so you hit your dark, and the tip is light, dark. And against this one here, we need to make that one a bit darker to show up the light of this one, the lightness of that. So let's work inside here, and these sort of goes round that way. So I'm going to be, let's get that going. Very, very light. And you do that, keep careful that you don't go over into this area here where you've got the lip coming over. So here we're just going to just a few little marks, because it's much lighter as we're going along to the outside. I can always come back and darken up at a later stage. Build up slowly first. So across. And these coming out this way. At this stage, rather put too few strokes than too many. Just build it up as we go. The side here is also this one here is a very, very light petal, so we only have a few little strokes in here to give it that I go and clean up, especially when you've got a warmish day and this evaporates reasonably fast. So check it, here we go. It's a bit deeper inside here, so here you can add some of the shadows in here. Especially when you have these little joints come in, do that. Right, here we got this little one in here, so that will also a bit darker down in here. We have this little lip. Let's go to this one. Yeah, I've got this series, these little strokes that are not straight. They've got little curves in them. A shadow underneath that. More shadow. And you've got the curves. Those curves coming down this way. As we get here, it goes in under. And as it goes in under this area here, very much darker in there. Let's work up on this one. This one will also, the leaves sort of come out, so you've got this formation that's coming this way, and these ones are coming around here. And as they come here, they straighten out, and they go out that way. here's a bit darker than the rest. Let's bring some of it out here. Darken these areas up. The little lip here is showing a bit of a shadow in that area. Coming from that side, this one will throw a bit more shadow down here. And up there. Here we'll have a bit more shadow as it goes behind. And because this is a rounding this side, you'll also have this area here will be a little bit lighter than this side and that side here. Underneath here too, you're also going to have it coming up a little bit darker. All these little lines follow the form. Some place when you're looking straight at it, it'll be straight, and as it goes around, it becomes more and more round as it goes. So from here, very light round, and then it starts getting more this way. Down into the hollow, right down inside. Let's give that a bit more depth in here. Needs another clean. Just be careful that when you do these, once you don't get your hands too full of wet ink, and then come and put in. That's why I've got this here. Any mark of my hand will perhaps just only come onto this paper, but not onto the actual drawing itself. So let's see. some of this down here. There's a series of tiny little, thin little strokes. A little bit darker underneath without going too much down the... Just want to sort of emphasize that a little bit there. Few little cross hatchings here just in the dark shade. Bit dark in this corner, got a rounding, so it's, as it turns around away it gets a bit darker. It's not only rounding this way, it's rounding that way as well. Tiny little marks. Right, let's go onto this left side. We can work on that one across here, which is not quite as dark as the other ones. And the lines are this way. With the petals going out that side. Add a little shadow in here. Don't forget we changed the lighting. This photograph was taken under really subdued light, it wasn't under bright sunlight. The result is it's very, how can I put it, sort of even lighting. There's no harsh lights and darks. We want things lighter, you're going to have the lines a little bit further apart so you don't lose too much of the white paper. I need to just define this line a little bit more here, so I'm going to come in with a bit of a cross hatching. In this area here. Don't go too high up, just this little piece. A bit of cross hatching here as well. That gives a bit more of the depth sort of going in. I just want to darken this, just this little corner a bit here. That gives it a bit of a depth. I know it's not in the photograph. It does Just gives you a bit of a separation and depth inside there. So here we have a fairly light one. Let's put a tiny little sort of a lip here as well. This one is just going to have a few little marks, hardly any. This one too is just a few little marks, giving that curve coming down. Just underneath there, like a separating line. Light is coming from this side, so this one will throw a bit of a shadow over that one. Otherwise it looks like it's sort of next to each other. Here it's up again, so you won't have any shadow in there. Here a little bit of a shadow in this little corner. Just a that should be enough. This one here is a little bit darker. This is light, so we need to have a separation line. Going across here. And this is a little bit darker than that one, so I'm taking some of these lines right towards the edge. Just to make it a little bit darker. There we go. Very slowly getting that up. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to emphasize this rounding, and I'm going to bring a few little lines. Don't overdo it. Let me just get that ink going again. Very light, just a few little lines down the bottom. Give you that rounding. A little bit in here. So this goes round, but it also goes around that side. Down the bottom we can add a few little more down here. And alright, let's add this little leaf down here. This one is much darker than the other, so let's start putting some, darken this up a bit. Don't forget to put that bit of an edging that's been folded up a little bit, so you've got that coming in here. Also the lines also taking those, the form of the leaf. In other words, don't just give it straight, give it those little curls coming down. I'm just going to darken this little edge a bit because now it's thick and it's got sun from that side. And this one here is also now quite a bit. Let me just add, give this bit here a bit. A bit of cross hatching in this area. Bring it up nicely against that cool, and also a bit of the shadow where this one throws onto there. And here we've got quite a darker one. I'm going to make this one quite dark. It's right in the shadow. We have a nice contrast. Bring that one right into the shadow. There we go. So let's just want to clean the pen again. because of this nib that is split, and you've got that little hole there, and that's the one that sort of holds quite a bit of the ink inside, and the split is from there down to the bottom, and that sort of feeds, when you press down it opens up and it feeds the ink down. So that needs to be, if it clogs up and dries up, it doesn't feed the ink at all. So let's see, now we got down the bottom end here. This time I'm going to start with a bit of yes, get that. Okay. Right, this time down here, I'm also going to start with a bit of a curve this way. And some of those will sort of come into those, almost form like a little bit of a cross-hatching underneath. And then we have also some shadow from this side. Don't forget, it's these little lips across here that actually give you that nice shape for the roses and separate. So put a bit of a shadow, some closer, some shadows will be a little bit darker. And behind, a little bit less across here. This part here will also be quite dark. All of those cross hatchings in that area, and then we're going to bring those down. This gets closer down the bottom, and so this one's going to be darker than the other. We're able to get that nice volume coming in. As I mentioned before, that the photograph itself, it here, it's quite flat. The whole colour is very flat, all in that area there. So we have to come up and put some sunshine. You can see from these leaves inside here too, there's very little sunshine on. Even the shadows that you see across there is almost, I can't remember what the weather was like when I took it, but obviously it was quite an overcast day, and it was not very strong light at all. So we need to add that in to give you the contrasts, the lights and the darks we need. So let's bring that down. I forget, this is light, this one here is light, so we need to bring that down but not over it. You'll just be careful you don't bring your line over. In one or two little cases I've done that. If you have a look, there's a little one going across the top. So bring that down into here. Just interlacing, slowly interlacing it so you get that tonal range from your light, because it's got a rounding, so you will have a little area where the light is catching it. As it goes down under, it becomes darker. So here it's going to become a bit darker down here. Into this area. A bit of cross-hatching in there. Need that to lighten that up, and some of this shadow will have to go right up against it so that you get that sharp line. Okay, we got that one, and we just need to work this and put a bit of a cross hatching inside here just to bring up that shadow area. Careful along the line, very light cross hatching. Okay, so now here we're also going to have a little bit more of a, very lightly, don't do it too much, just to give you that bit of a shading. The light's coming, so as it goes around it starts to get dark to go up behind, but you only need a few little lines, not much at all. Let's get that going. Very light, just a few. Across here too. A few little ones in here, but these ones, as it turns over a little bit further, you can have a little bit of shadow area in here. Yeah, let's see. Some little bits of shadow. Don't need to just hint. You don't want to sort of, by doing that you need to darken this a bit here. So you've got little hints of that where it around goes over into shadow. Some places a little bit more than the other, it's not always even. We've got here as well too, so we've got some few little lines, give it that lip. And inside here, there's a touch, but here too, let's add a few little ones in here. Don't darken it up too much in that area. Here, I'm going to put a few little bit more cross hatching, but in a rounding way like that. So that just shove it there. Right, now the rose is starting to take shape now. Let's see what we got done. Now we got this one. Yeah, it's quite dark inside here. Now you've got this rounding, so we need to make this comes around. Up to this point here, behind this one, it's a curl, so it goes across, but then behind it, it curls around this way. So you have some curl coming down here like that. And from here, it starts to flatten out and becomes part of the actual the leaf itself, a petal on this side. So here we got these coming out here, and then this curls right over. So what happens here, you get it's going to be also quite a bit on the darker side. So we need to add some shadow in here to give you that effect of the curl. But don't forget to keep the shape, and get less shadow down here. It becomes a bit darker as it comes down this side. Curl becomes more and more pronounced, or taking the dip, as it were, coming inside. We have some extra little leaf marks that's coming in as well. And you can see we've got a few little, there's actually little water drops in there. But I don't know whether to put them in or not. Maybe we'll try one. Let's see what happens. Because once it's on, it's on. So let's see what we can do. Get a little water drop here. The sun's coming from that side, so it'll have a bit of a shadow down here. Now, this is where you've got to be very careful. Let's put a few little I've got to use these little dots to give me the shading. But then there's also a little bit of a highlight too, you see, so take a little bit of a highlight there. Let's see what that looks like. You need that little highlight, little dot, a tiny little piece across there. And this end here is a bit darker. I wasn't intending to sort of go into theory of light stuff now, but what actually happens is the light goes through, transparent, hits the other end, and reflects through here. This part here is picking up some outside reflections, that bit there, and here is your shadow of the actual drop itself in there. So let's do that. Okay, doesn't look too bad. Right. Something I wasn't really intending to do, but anyway, well, you put another little drop in here just now. It does make a bit difference. Makes life interesting. Take that dullness away. Your ink is really that drying out very fast. It's not even high summer yet. Oh, we passed the high summer, so we passed. But this is a tiny little nib anyway, so you can expect that. Bring some of that across here. And a few little marks. A few got imperfections and stuff on there as well. This bit here is also a bit darker. Also little lips that have come up. Let's bring that down. Left a little like an edge in there, so I'm going to bring these marks down to that edge. Yes, get down. Right, let's put another little drop on. I think that looks nice. You can practice another little one. Let's put one here. Another drop here. Higher up here. Make him a little bit bigger. The shadow in. He's standing up. Got volume to it. And it's a bit lighter. Let's get that going. Put a few little dots inside here. Leave that little area there for don't go completely into this area down the bottom there. That's that shine that actually makes the actual drop itself. So here we got some, let's take some of the lines, let's take them away from that so we don't go into it. These ones will have a little bit more lines that's going into the shadow area, but not as dark as the other one. And let's put that up there. No, you can't. Put that a little bit here. A little bit, you can sort of just see it. I don't want to get too much over here. Let's there, that's better. So now you can also do some comparison. So it's very light across this area here. It's up, so there's no shadow underneath that one because this one is up. This one comes down in closer, the shadow. You need some of that also to show the outline of this one. To there. And it's got a few little imperfections and little marks on it, and they're just, even these other ones here, there's some marks on the these. So these also got the rounding this way, so let's put a bit of a marking in here. There's some other little, otherwise it looks too perfect. So here we need to take this, I'm holding the pen right away from the tip. Otherwise you get too formalized, as it were. Few little marks there. few little ones across, bit of cross hatching inside there. We've got this other, these other petals here. They're also reasonably light. And now we need to bring some of that in this way. This part here is lifted away from the other, so we won't have too much of the shadow in that area. But that's coming across here. Let's put a bit of a cross hatching in here. Then coming out. Some markings on the edge. One here, let's make this one sort of underneath, so I'm going to darken this one up so that we can actually separate that. See, nice shadow down in here. We separate those leaves and push this lower down behind the other. Now we can start sort of coming out a little bit on the lighter side. This time again, pen cleaning time. Let's see now. Here we go. So let's bring that out here where we can see it, and it's fairly light in this area here, believe it or not. Let's bring that out, and the leaf's got a bit of a curl down this way. Show that curl, and quite a bit is shown down here. Let's work it this way. I need little strokes. Make it a little bit darker in the side here, just to sort of give you a bit of a shape in the leaf. Got this little kink here, so you do that. That makes it a bit different. And this one here, we make this one a little bit darker than the other. And let's lighten it as it sort of goes towards the edge. There it starts to catch some light. Right, now we can start down this bottom end here, and now I'm going to be using a bigger pen. All the delicate work is, so to speak, finished. Now let's clean that before putting it away. Very important to clean first, and later on I'll clean it in some water and a brush. Right, now let's use a bigger pen. We should have less problem with that now. Let's just take it. There we go. Right, here we got some of the leaves. So sun's coming from this side, but this side here we're going to have some quite a bit dark. So I'm going to make the stem a little bit darker. Separate this out. Not quite so dark on this side here. So it'll give you that bit of a highlight on the side. It's going to be dark inside here. Quite dark. This will be also a bit scratch a bit of the paper there. This here underneath, this little stem going out will also be quite dark. So we can put this bit all in the shadow here. Gives that lovely contrast. This one will come in and start getting a bit more light on it. Okay, this one will also, now we can actually go back to this one, where maybe on the camera you won't see it quite so well as what I can see it, but we have some marks in here. A few little cross hatchings. This part here is going to be darker. it just brings out a bit of that background. Put it out of the way. Sometimes one can put a bit of a slight cross hatching in it.